Welcome to the Respect the Math podcast, brought to you by Reliable Tech Help. For all your IT needs, call Reliable Tech Help at 502-797-7399 or visit our website at reliabletechhelp.com. That's reliabletech, T-E-K, help.com. I'm your host, Digital David Snyder. Here at the Respect the Math podcast, we talk about everything from technology to business to science, popular culture, and more. Basically, the things I'm interested in because I'm kind of selfish that way. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, and podcast apps from Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon, Pandora, iHeart, and others. Please interact with us online, and if you like what you hear, please subscribe and share our content. We'd love to hear from you. Today, our guest is Jason Cross, and he's with Small Job Service. Jason, welcome.
Thank you, Dave. Digital Dave.
Yes, sir. Mr. Digital Dave to you, hopefully.
Pardon me.
Moving forward. So thanks for being here. Tell us about Small Job Service, the service you offer to your clients, and anything else you'd like us to know?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Dave. We've known each other a little while. Appreciate you inviting me on.
I think it'd be around 13 years at this point.
Yeah.
Probably just feels like 25.
It feels like at least 25.
Yeah.
We met each other. I was in a different business, but we were still friendly and saw each other around town here and there. But I have been with Small Job, founded Small Job, started Small Job, just basically helping my mother. My mother was aging in place. She was older, lived alone. And she would say, can you come over and change light bulbs? Can you come over and pick up the limbs in the yard? Can you get the Christmas out of the basement? Fortunately, she was really smart about staying out of the basement and doing, not getting on step stools and things like that. And she was able to never break anything and never fall. So I was in a retail sales career and had a young son and really didn't want to work the Saturday hours and the longer evening hours because my son was smaller. So I thought, I think there's a need for helping seniors primarily and busy professionals to do odd jobs. So I'm not a carpenter. I'm not a trained handyman per se. I do really light cosmetic fixes, but the idea behind it was just to help people do checklists of things. And our logo is actually a to-do list in a pocket, like in a denim pocket, which you see right here, if you can see it. But so that was the idea for it. And that was around 2016. Did that for my mom before she passed away, like 92, back in 2017. But that was really how it started. And we've been growing and doing all sorts of odd jobs ever since, including moving seniors in and out of facilities. A number of facilities call me, and professionals in the industry call me. And, sometimes there's a crisis and it needs to be done tomorrow or whatever within 24 hours. And so because our appointments, I can do 2 and 3 and every once in a while 4 jobs in a day, I'm able to do a little bit of, I have some flexibility with my schedule. So we're available, not way far out.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we do. Really just odd jobs. I turned down a lot of plumbing and electrical and carpentry because that's just not our niche.
Yeah. And you have to be licensed to do a lot of that stuff, and the other stuff, like you said, it just shook out the way it shook out was you just don't do that. I wanted to talk about your business. Most great ideas and great business come out of solving a practical problem. In your case, it was helping your mom. You figure, well, she's not the only one who's going to need this kind of thing.
That's right.
And to give a backstory on that, you came to me, I think it was around the fall of 2015 with an idea in a notebook, right? You just sketched out some ideas, and I was happy to advise you. I'm always happy to help anyone in any way I can as a part of my lifetime ahead of paying it forward for the people that have helped me. And of course, you're my friend, so I wanted to help you too. But looking back almost 7 years ago, you've got a nice business now, and it all started from an idea on a piece of paper. That actually the idea came from helping your mother and seeing there's probably other people that need that, and then B, sketching out an idea and starting a business. I wanted to mention also that I've used Jason and his many services for several things, both at our home and our rental property. And Jason does great work. The people that are on his team do great work. He's got the resources in terms of a truck and a trailer, the tools necessary. I mean, if you take a job and you show up, you're going to have the right amount of labor and resources and tools to do that job. And I just wanted to mention a few of the things Jason's done for us. He's painted a deck. He's done some light to heavy landscaping when it came to ripping out old
Holloway stuff.
Holloway. You've helped us pick up rocks and help with landscaping there, remove trees, fencing. Trying to think of a couple. Oh, pressure washing's a big one.
Yeah, the driveway.
And I got to tell you, Jason was trying to, get me to pressure wash my sidewalk for a while, and I was like, I don't see the benefit of that. And then I saw someone who had it done, and I was like, oh, now I see the benefit. And so Jason came out and did it, and it's night and day. I would encourage anybody listening who's considering doing that. If you have a nice yard and everything else in your house makes a good presentation, looks good, you got a dingy driveway and sidewalk, just look at some of the before and after pictures from people that have done it.
Yeah.
And it's worth it. I highly recommend that. So I'm going to have Jason do that for me here soon. I think I'm also going to have him stain, if he wants the job, stain a fence over to our rental property that we put in. So
yeah.
So just
about time you got that put in.
That's right. Yeah. So anyways, I just wanted to give you a personal testimonial there. Jason,
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Jason does great work. And he's reliable and prepared and reasonably priced, most importantly. So he's not the cheapest guy in town, but the cheapest guy in town doesn't do good work, and he doesn't show up on time. And there's always a price to be paid for, trying
Thank
to.
you.
Yeah. So, and he's certainly not the most expensive. So I want to get back to this idea of starting a business, because I think it really applies to you, and it's a topic I think a lot, and I end up talking to people about a lot. You didn't follow the exact path that I suggested, and that's fine. Everybody has to find their own path. But I want you to kind of comment on some of the steps that you took that might have been kind of not the traditional route that people would think when they start a business. For example, I have people come to me and say, hey, I want to start a business. I need a website. I need an LLC. I need a contract for service. I need business cards. I need t-shirts, all that stuff. I tell people, slow down.
Right.
Let's develop your product.
Prove the concept.
Prove the concept. Let's develop the product or service that you're offering. You can go out and do that. I also recommend when someone's doing that to at least have a part-time job and preferably a full-time job to take the financial pressure off of starting a new business.
Sure.
I've personally seen a lot of businesses come and go, and I'm sure you have too. And a lot of those that died early on died because of bad decision-making. And a lot of that bad decision-making was influenced by financial pressures. So if you've already got a job that gives you decent pay and some health insurance and some stability, I always tell people the best time to start a business is when you already have a decent job. You just want to do something more. And if they don't have one, I tell them to go find one, even if it's serving coffee at Starbucks. Trust me, it's going to save you, down the road. And so...
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely started, I know you started out when you were working for somebody else, and you started out nights and weekends from what I remember you telling me. But for me, I wanted to leave that retail job. And so I actually had a pretty clean break from doing that, selling tile, and just for my schedule. And so the first year or so, I mean, those were really tough because I was, trying to create a job out of nothing. And, the obstacle was, I'm not really a traditional handyman. And so I kind of had to train my customers and train my friends to what it is that I actually do and, what I don't do. So I don't, like I said, do the traditional plumbing and all that. So, I mean, the first year and a half felt like 3 because it was really slow, and I was using B&I and some networking, a little bit of social media, graphics on my truck, things like that. But I mean, it was, not being a new business owner, I didn't know. I thought, 6 months or a year and I'll have plenty of customers. But I mean, it just really does take time. So it's nice now, most people that come in contact with my number or friend of a friend or friend, most of them in year 5 or 6 have an idea of what I do. I don't have to have those conversations like, well, I don't, and I refer a lot when I can, because there are plenty of things that I don't do. And I do that on a weekly basis, but yeah, I really like this niche. I like what we do. I like helping seniors a lot. And it's, very busy. I don't do a lot of advertising. A lot of times people, pass my name around, to friends and family. So a lot of it is referral based.
Yeah, and to kind of handle the ramp up of your business as it grows at a trajectory that's manageable for you, you don't necessarily want to go and saturate the market with advertisements, because the worst thing that can happen is you get more work than you can handle.
Right.
And that can be negative for your reputation as a business owner.
Right.
So it sounds like you kind of grew it on that nice, slow, but
pretty
steady.
organic. Yeah, pretty slow and organic. And I've got a couple of people with me now in the busy season. So, and, got pretty carefully selected people that, I trust who can deliver what we say we're going to do. So they're actually out doing an exterior job for a regular past customer right now, which allows me to be here, which is nice. But I'm at every job every day.
Yeah. I want to talk about the concept of validation in the business game. One way that you can validate that your idea or product or service is A, good idea, and B, being executed properly, right? It has to be both, right? You can have a great idea and not execute it properly and vice versa. One way to validate that is positive cash flow, right? If you got money coming in above and beyond your expenses, called profit or salary, however you look at it, that's validation from the marketplace. The second validation is in, like you said, the referral-based growth, where it's organic. If you're not doing a good job and honoring your commitments to your clients, you're not going to get that natural gradual
ripple effect of helping a customer and them telling their neighbors.
Yeah, right. and so I'm big on, if anybody's listening to this, thinking of starting a business or early on in the process, think about that term validation. A, you want the marketplace to validate your idea and how you're executing it, and B, you want validation in the form of referrals, right?
Right.
One thing I wanted to mention too, we touched on briefly earlier, starting up a business, I need A, B, C, and D, and I'm like, well, you do, but not necessarily right now. Go prove the concept, like you said. What I tell people is, I'm advising someone right now on this, is make your customers pay for that, right? You want a nice website? Go make $5,000 in profit and have your customer pay for that, right? I think one thing is important too when starting up a business is to remain open-minded. And I told a friend of mine yesterday, you don't know where the business you're starting today is going to take you 6 months from now. You might have this path in your mind, it's going to be A, B, and C, and it ends up being D, E, and F. And if you've locked yourself into a branding strategy or all this long-term advertising commitments and all this stuff, and all of a sudden 6 months, your life takes a turn and you end up doing something totally different.
Right.
The money that you put in all that stuff and the resources and the effort and time you put into it's wasted. So that's another reason to kind of do the gradual organic growth, not putting the cart before the horse, so to speak. Can you comment on that? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a name change. My first 6 months, I was Small Stuff Service. I found my old original business card, which was white instead of green, and I had a little 500 box count of them. I found them in my storage. So I changed the name after about 6 months because it wasn't descriptive enough.
Yeah.
But it's served me well since then. And I'm really happy with my logo and my branding and my name because, it's like, well, we do small jobs. Most of our jobs are, $500 or less. We can do several in a day typically, depending on what it is. Following where, the jobs were, I ended up getting into helping these, certain senior facilities got my number and call me regularly to do move-ins and move-outs for their customers. And obviously I was looking at the senior market, but I had not really pointed in that direction originally. But, we've kind of added trailers and, I've got a couple of trailers that we use, open and cargo trailers. So, I have to pay attention to what it is people need and decide, try. I try a lot of new things all the time, and some things I want to do again, and I'm happy to do again. But some things I might say, well, I don't think that's for me going down the road. But there's a lot of decisions like that have to be made, and like I said, I like all my fingers and toes. I don't need to want to learn carpentry. Don't really want to get into the carpentry market. It's just not a space that we want to be in. There's just a lot of great people out there doing that. So we kind of like where we are, and we will, change if we need to and expand if we need to. But really, I've just followed, what I originally thought of, and it's kind of grown from there, like I said, with the senior moves.
So you agree, be open to and put yourself in a position to be able to pivot in case you discover things you didn't even plan on doing, right?
Absolutely.
And that's worked well for you, I would think, right?
Yeah. Like I said, we do. I've got a couple of tool rooms that I have just so many different things that I've acquired. I got post hole diggers for third birdhouse for a customer, a repeat customer, and we went out and put a third birdhouse in his backyard yesterday. And so, something like that we'll do again, but it's not something that I'm really advertising. So there's just a lot of the things that I will be happy to do again, but every once in a while it's like, I don't think I want to do that again. Yeah. And we'll take that in consideration if we get another call on that.
Yeah. I also wanted to mention this too, and forgive me if I'm crossing a line here, but if anybody's listening and they're not afraid of a little hard work and they'd like to supplement their income, are you still looking for people to help you out?
Sure. Always looking for hardworking helpers. They're not easy to hang on to.
Yeah. To find and B, to keep.
Exactly. Yeah. I've had a couple that, it's very, very common with small businesses. People, stay for a while and then move on to something different. I try to be really fair and pay well and, have good working conditions, buy lunches and, I'll even pick helpers up if I need to. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So if anybody's listening or someone listening who has a family member, a friend, a neighbor, somebody looking for some work,
college, somebody home from college,
able-bodied, can do some physical stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. We'll keep
Absolutely.
that. Yeah. Let's keep that in mind. I also wanted to mention the handyman topic because there's handyman work and then there's small job service. And there's a little bit of crossover, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not exactly like you call it light handyman stuff, right? So you might change a light in an unreachable ceiling fixture or something like that for someone.
Yeah, I don't do drywall. I turn down a lot of drywall work. I do little patches. I do kind of like small cosmetic repairs. I've, changed a couple of top rails on decks, deck boards, things like that. But, I'm very, very basic with the carpentry and the interior repairs. And like I said, I just really don't touch plumbing or electrical. So I hang heavy pictures, I hang TVs. A lot of people pre-move and post-move will find us. And, we've got a room that we need to clear out to make it into a guest room for an in-law or for a guest. And we need the sofa downstairs and we need the refrigerator needs to go. And we've got a new refrigerator coming in. Can you take it to the basement or take it to my uncle's house down the street? So I did that yesterday for a family, went from Prospect to Bancroft, just for a fridge replacement. Family member getting rid of it to the other one, and the other 30-year-old fridge went to the dump. So we went to the dump a couple times yesterday for people. So lots of haul away, lots of kind of interchangeable stuff. I have a basic understanding of what moving people will charge, but a lot of times people don't really need that stuff off-site. So, like I said, interior moves are pretty big. People getting their floors redone. Mm-hmm. We'll put it in a pod or put it in the garage or bring it upstairs while they have hardwoods put in or vinyl put in or whatever. So, we try to be flexible to whatever it is that's on their list. So, and like I said, typically it can be under $250. That's a pretty average size ticket for a lot of our jobs.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to mention again is don't be so price sensitive when you're shopping. I want to know what the value is I'm getting. And the value is a function of, yes, the price, that's a big part of it, but also what I'm getting in return for what I'm spending.
Right.
And so I would challenge people, who ask you for a quote, don't have this hard number in line where if it exceeds that number, it's not worth it. Jason is a local business employing people in our local community, and he himself tries to patronize other local businesses and local people in the community.
I think I've ordered one thing off Amazon. I am a pretty big local
independent
supporter.
scene.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't click and buy. I like to drive and see faces in stores and things like that. So, But to your point, I think sometimes look at me and people kind of wonder, well, don't you want to do bigger things? And I look at it like I am solving a problem. And a lot of people are frustrated because they don't know who to call. Do they call a mover company for, just hauling away a fridge either to the dump or to a family member's house and swapping things or whatever? We're getting our floors redone. Who's going to pull all our furniture, in the garage or in the basement? There's just not a lot of places advertising that. So I enjoy being the go-to guy for people because, that's, like I said, we're kind of in this little corner that, and maybe I have way more competitors than I realize, but, a lot of people seem very relieved when they find out, oh yeah, I can do that. Can you do it tomorrow? Actually, I might be able to move some things around and get it done for you tomorrow. So
nice. That's a really strong value you're bringing to the marketplace. I want to tell people too, listening, that Jason's going to be honest with you. He might not be the lowest price, but he will tell you, this is what it's worth for him to meet his bottom line and take care of his people and to pay the expenses of running his business. And he'll also tell you if he's not a good fit for your project. He's not just out there trying to sign up everybody, because you turn away some projects too because you want what's best for the customer, right?
Especially early on. I mean, there were jobs that I was in over my head on, and I'll give you an example. I was called to move a dishwasher, which on the phone I thought was disconnected, and it was just moving it. They were moving and needed to swap the dishwashers because one was better or whatever. So I got there and realized that the dishwasher was connected. Well, there's several connections on a dishwasher, and I've never really done that. Mm-hmm. So I called a plumber friend of mine and paid him to take care of that because I didn't want to leave my customer in the lurch, and I didn't want to damage their home or cause a leak, et cetera, et cetera.
Get caught up in a lawsuit. Yeah.
Well, water, I just am very careful around water. I don't want that liability, and I just don't know enough about it. So,
yeah.
I could probably watch 5 or 10 YouTube videos and figure out how to swap dishwashers, but I just don't really want that.
Yeah.
So anyway, the point is I, said, hey, these actually, I thought they were connected. So let me get a plumber over here. And she was on a huge time crunch. So anyway, that's an example of, maybe we got our wires crossed and I didn't realize what you had here, but let's go ahead and try to get it fixed really quick.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that plumber cut into your margin pretty heavily too, but you
Big
did
time.
the right thing for the customer, not necessarily for yourself.
Big time. Yeah. And this customer had just lost a spouse and was under a lot of stress, and I, kind of shot myself in the foot with volunteering to do that, but I did it and I moved on because I didn't want to.
Yeah.
I didn't want to not honor my, what I said I was going to do. So yeah, I say no a lot. But I try to make it right if things happen.
Yeah.
And if I have to, do some touch up or whatever,
yeah.
We try to make it right by the customer.
You're going to do it right. You want to be doing business with these people 10 years from now, not just have a one-off relationship with them and never see them again. So
yeah, but Louisville's a big, small town.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's incredible how many of my customers know each other, or
yeah.
You know how it is. I mean, it's like 3 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Well, and especially the people who have the disposable income to hire someone like you in the first place, that's an even smaller subset of the community.
Yeah, and working with seniors, I have to be pretty patient and understanding because sometimes communicating can be a challenge.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we call that integrity. Jason has integrity. I wanted to point out something else to the people listening. If you try to beat somebody up on their price, their work is going to suffer if they end up working for less than what they think they deserve. So I think that's a very important thing to point out. I wanted people to do business with me and be enthusiastic and charismatic about it because they know I didn't try to take advantage of them and beat them up on the price or give them terms that were unrealistic.
Yeah.
So,
what I was going to say before going off on the dishwasher tangent was that I try and give a range.
Because you don't know a lot of these projects.
Well, and when I'm even with a picture on a text, I'll often ask, do you have a picture of how big is this bookcase, or how long is this sofa, or how small is this doorway? In a lot of the older neighborhoods in Louisville, you have crooked staircases with landings, you have tight doorways in St. Matthews, Crescent Hill, Frankfort Avenue, wherever. Mm-hmm. And that makes a difference when you're just moving a fridge to the basement or just moving a couch. down the stairs, it should take you 30 minutes.
Right.
You know, often doors got to come off, legs got to come off. Sometimes you got to do some origami yoga to try to get these things through doorways. So I try, I've learned in the last couple of years to try and give a range, you know, 250 to 300, 250 to 75. So there's no surprises. And that way they kind of know. I just had a new customer who had not worked with me, and I think she saw me on Nextdoor. And I said, it's going to be, I think it was 200 to 250. And so afterwards she said, okay, what do I owe you? And I said, you know, the lower part of the range, because she was a new customer and because that was the amount of time that it took me. So I'm not always pushing the range.
And it's hard to tell the whole story of what the job is going to involve from one
Especially
picture.
even with phone pictures and texting.
Yeah, it helps, but it's not the whole picture by a long shot, right?
I love talking to customers that call, and you know, a lot of my customers do, but busy professionals often will text. You know, a lot of people prefer text, but just texting, I really think, is not nearly as effective, because just talking to somebody on the phone, it makes it's more it's interactive. I have more information and more urgency because I'm more invested than, you know, seeing my text thread with, you know, 50 customers texting me. Okay. So I prefer actually being, and I'm often in the car and I don't like to text in the car. So talking to somebody on the phone, just got off the phone with a new customer. He wants me to go over there. And, you know, it was really funny because he was telling me the exact turn by turn to get into his neighborhood. And I've got friends I've been to on their street, and he spent about 4 minutes telling me where it, and I said, yes, sir, I've actually been on your
and they
street.
keep going, and they just keep going.
It's like, let me tell you, it's off.
The third blue mailbox across.
He's like,
from
it's off Blank. Do you know this road? Do you know Brownsburg? Do you know Blankenbaker? And I'm just like, yes, sir. Oh, you're on that street? Yes, sir. My friends, I've been to a Super Bowl party on that street.
More importantly, Apple Maps.
But I would rather have that, you know, that than, you know, please move my fridge, you know, and not have any pictures and just have very, very basic information. So
yeah, so I understand, sir. I've been there, and more importantly, Apple Maps has been there and has a very, very good acquaintance.
Yeah, so
it is acquainted with that.
But I would much rather have somebody long-winded on the phone than get not very much info on a text or a little picture.
Yeah, so customers listening, potential customers, call him. Call him. That helps him help you, correct?
It does.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the concept of what I call a guerrilla startup. You followed a lot of the advice I gave you early on. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, did I tell you don't worry about a website, just buy a domain and then point it to a Facebook business page? You did that, right?
I did.
And how did that work for you? Can you comment on that?
That has worked. A lot of my stuff is straight from social media, which I do have some presence there. I don't have a huge presence there, but I do have a couple of domains, and I do. Some people say that they Googled me, but a lot of my stuff is just primarily Facebook and word of mouth.
Yeah. Now, do you actually have a website now, or do you still just redirect to your Facebook business page for your domains?
I still have just that.
So you haven't even needed the cost of a website.
I don't pay anything for a website.
Yeah.
No.
And you get plenty of business. You probably get more business just by being on Facebook than you do, even if someone would try to find you on the internet.
I don't do any kind of advertising like that. It's like I said, so much of it is word of mouth, and it's been growing at a pretty steady clip. So I really haven't dove into a whole lot of social, you know, as far as beefing up a website and all these things. So.
Yeah, you know, the technology curve is so exponentially rising. I think the website is almost obsolete now, unless you're doing some type of platform-specific e-commerce where you have to sell it through your website.
I would love to build it up, but you know, it's I haven't really just jumped in there because I feel like once I jump in, you know, I want to have a good one, and I want to have multiple pages, but it's it's not been necessary.
I don't see the ROI. Do you?
Well, I mean, I've gotten some figures on it, but maintaining it, I just feel like I haven't needed it yet.
Yeah. So that's one tip I wanted to share with the audience. Jason took that advice, and as you can tell, it worked for him.
Yeah.
When I started this Respect the Math podcast as a business entity, I bought respectthemath.com and respectthemathpodcast.com. I did exactly what I advised you to. So I'm walking the walk, not just talking the talk when I advise people. I do the things I suggest people do. And so for, what was it, $15 a year, you can have a a domain, a website address for those who aren't familiar with that term.
Right.
And you can just go in and tell it every time someone types it in to send them straight. It's called a redirect, straight to a Facebook business page. You can create in 30 minutes for free, right? And so you effectively have a website and it didn't cost you anything.
True.
And that's kind of the theme with Guerrilla Startup. There's a famous marketing advertising book called Guerrilla Marketing. And so I was kind of inspired by that to call it Guerrilla Startup. Something else I wanted to mention, I think is obsolete these days, are business cards. You hand out a lot of business cards?
People, especially older generation, love a business card, and I often
so you have to keep them.
Yeah, but I mean, I will text a photo of my business card often.
There you go.
Because what if they lose it? If I text them a photo of it, a lot of people put them on their desk or their fridge or whatnot. But I will often text a business card. But I mean, like in our networking groups and things like that, I don't carry people's cards. I have their information digitally. Yeah,
and in your address book on your Android or your iPhone, whatever it might be, do you do the share contact thing yet? Because I do that all the time.
All the time.
I call it the modern digital business card.
Yeah.
I mean, you still probably need to have business cards at some point for the old school folks, but I think that's another expense people often assume they have to incur, and you really don't.
Yeah, no, I've done postcards, some postcards that I've handed out, at customers' houses, and had an offer on there or something like that. But yeah, business cards, they're still necessary, but so much of it, and I referred somebody to a plumber friend yesterday, so I use the share contact a lot.
Yeah.
Big time.
Something else I wanted to mention was advertising. I think a lot of people waste a lot of money on advertising.
I have done that.
Yeah, I have too. Not a lot, but my fair share.
Yeah.
And I think we have the same mixed results at best, right? Some response, not nearly worth.
Yeah, no, I did a print neighborhood print deal, and I really was excited about it. And it was, in an area where I had regular customers already and enjoyed working in that area because it wasn't super far from my house. And it was disappointing. So I'm definitely just primarily interested in digital and, just continuing the word of mouth. But digital, I think, is best for us.
Yeah, another tip for people trying to start a business on a budget is the concept that my advisor gave me a long time ago called low-lying fruit. And what he meant by that term is you already have within 2 to 3 degrees of separation of the people you already know, friends, family, coworkers, associates.
Yeah.
There's enough connections there. Just call that person up and say, I want to call and say hi to you. I haven't talked to you in a while. I'm starting a new business. Could you possibly think of 2 or 3 people that might need some help or something?
Right.
If you make those phone calls, that's free except for your time, obviously.
Sure.
But that can be very effective. Did you do any of that early on?
Absolutely. Yeah. Obviously, people that knew me in my immediate circle and they helped me promote small job, to their friends and family and neighbors. So that is absolutely an asset. Just to, like you said, it's low hanging fruit. I mean, you got to go for what's closest to you.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear that worked for you. Are there any other tips you can give the audience that allowed you to grow your business at a manageable rate, but also allowed you to minimize the cost of doing that? Can you think of anything else?
I do vehicle graphics were really helpful. Regular networking group is helpful.
Let's come back to that. Talk about the vehicle graphics. That's relatively inexpensive.
Pretty inexpensive, and
$200.
I've had people say, "Hey, I'm behind you," or "I was behind you an hour
Nice.
ago. I took a picture of your tailgate."
You get that frequently?
Can you do that
enough?
Every couple months.
So it's paid for itself then.
But I notice when I drive my trailer around, which has my signage on it, bigger signage, that I get more views on my page because, it's a little bit of a billboard. So it definitely increases awareness and calls too.
Yeah.
For sure.
Let's come back to what you mentioned earlier, regular networking. Let's go ahead and plug what, in my opinion, is the greatest networking organization on the planet, BNI. That's B like business, N like a network, I like international. We met each other through BNI a long time ago when I think you were doing, was it ADT?
Security.
ADT Security? Yeah. And so I encouraged you to join the group that you're in now. Go ahead and give them a plug.
Sure. Yeah. Brownsboro Road chapter of BNI.
You guys meet
Louisville.
Tuesdays, 12:30, Big Spring Country Club?
That's right. That's right.
And it is Big Spring, not Big Springs.
It's singular.
It's actually,
it's only
you didn't
one
know
spring.
that? Oh yeah, that's one of my pet peeves. You look at the sign; it's Big Spring.
Yeah,
but everyone
that's true.
calls it
That's
Big
true.
Springs. Yeah,
yeah. No, I call it Big Spring.
yeah.
No, this group is a great group. A lot of the guys, there's 4 founders who are still in it, started about 18, 19, 20 years ago. And we're like a $3.5 million a year group. We've had as many. When I joined.
Explain what that means, 3.5.
Well, as far as business passed, there's an app, and the activity passed, referrals passed between the members is tracked through an app. So after I complete a job for somebody, I put in thank you for closed business. You know, what member gave me the business? Was it themselves or was it a second tier, somebody that they sent me? I have referrals. I may send you a referral, and you know, you get that notification, and then if it turns into business, then you would track that thank you back to me. So before COVID, we were live at Big Spring. We were about 52 members and did 4.5. I think at one point we hit 6 million.
Let's explain that for the audience. So 6 million means that as a result of the members paying for a membership in that chapter, the cumulative business of everybody in the group that came out of that group, it was $6 million.
Right.
And you're 3.5 now, kind of rebuilding after the COVID.
Yeah, we lost some members with COVID, but we're building back, and we've got a great core group of people. And I'm in year 4 there, but it's been a great group for me. I love the members, the location, the time. It's been a great fit for me, even on a busy day. You know, it's well worth my time to go.
And the ROI on your investment is
10 times plus.
Outstanding, is it really?
The first year, I think, was about 8 times what I paid. So
yeah.
So it's a tremendous. It's a pretty high percentage of my business, and I, have been very regular in leadership in my chapter for a little while. But it's been great. You're in another chapter, so one of the benefits for me is kind of a green business owner is being able to have coffees and one-to-ones with other members.
Impressive people
People
owners,
with
professionals,
really great
successful
businesses,
folks.
really great businesses. Just really knowledgeable people that you have lunch with them every week, and they'll be more than happy to make some time to meet with you and answer your questions. You've been great to me as far as usually I ask you for your opinion.
Sometimes it's unsolicited.
Sometimes it's unsolicited. And I have to go, wait a minute, did I ask you for your opinion?
Yeah, I'm working on that.
Yeah, no.
Slowly.
No, but honestly, members like you and friends like you have been huge for me to, try to eliminate those mistakes and just avoid some of those pitfalls and landmines of, all the decisions that you have to make.
Well, you're really good at asking questions and asking for help, and I'm happy to help you. And you're also, I think you honed a skill for asking the right questions and then trying to implement the answers and avoid making the same mistakes other people have made. Reminds me of a quote, smart people learn from their own mistakes, wise people learn from the mistakes of others, right?
That's true.
I wanted to give people a little more details on BNI in case they don't know what we're talking about. This is, in my opinion, the greatest networking group in the world. It has, I think, 20,000 chapters around the world. Louisville alone has over 20, I think. Each chapter offers exclusivity to their members. Now, every chapter's price is a little bit different, but somewhere around $2,000 a year is what you're investing. And I tell people, if the $2,000 scares you off, the time commitment will certainly scare you off. Because in my opinion, the amount of time it takes to go to the meeting, invest the time in the meeting and out of the meeting to make it productive is far greater than the financial cost. So I just want to get that out there. But for what you're spending, you're getting exclusivity. There's no other Jason Cross in that group doing what he does.
It's true. That's true. Yeah, I'm in kind of a strange niche. I am not a remodeler or a handyman. I hold what they call personal services seat. So I worked really well with the previous handyman who was in our seat, who was a true handyman, who had carpentry skills, ceiling fan swap skills,
the stuff you don't want to do,
stuff that I don't want to do, and so
versa,
we
right?
worked really well. That was one of the attractions to that chapter for me, is because I was friendly with him, and to your point earlier, he would hire me on to be an extra set of hands on some of his jobs, which allowed me even before I joined the chapter So my first couple of years, he would say, "Hey, I need a hand, doing this deck job or whatever it was," and I would basically go and be his laborer, just doing whatever he needed me to do, and
get paid to learn.
Gave me income, and it was a win-win for him because he was paying me a fair rate, and I was getting filling my time and learning.
Yeah.
So that was really beneficial, and working and having that cohesion with him and being cool with each other and kind of not stepping on each other's toes was a big part. He's since retired, so we actually have an open handyman seat. But that was a big thing with staying in my lane. Mm-hmm. And not, stepping on the landscape guy's toes or stepping on the painter's toes or, the handyman. We still need a handyman. Right. So if you're a handyman, you want to come out Tuesday at noon.
Yeah, and I've been around the B&I circuit in Louisville. I can safely say if your group isn't the best, it's top 3 in the city. And there's some
We're a big group. We're a
yeah.
great group. It's been, like I said, it's been awesome for me and my business, and just I really like just about everybody in the group. So
yeah, and for Reliable Tech Help for us, it's been great. My annual membership is paid for by January 31st. So 1 month, and it's all profit after that. A solid third of our business comes out of there in one way or another. I get referrals from people from a chapter I haven't even been in 7 years, from people that weren't even in that chapter. Yeah. Maybe it was a member's neighbor or their coworker or something.
Right.
The B&I process just keeps giving and giving. I wanted to mention, speaking of speaking of ROI, I think a common mistake, and here's another tip for those people starting up a business. I think a common mistake people make is they either don't track their numbers well, or they lie to themselves about their numbers, right? Kind of like the gamblers lie. The more I lose, the more likely it is I'm going to win. And then when I win, I'm going to keep winning, right? The lie they tell themselves.
Okay.
And then they also say to themselves, well, I didn't lose as much as,
Excuse me.
Yeah, they lie about they lie to themselves over and over again to justify this. If it's out of control, there's responsible gamblers. But the reason I bring that up is we were talking about ROI, and you knew very quickly how much money you make above and beyond what the cost of that is for your annual fee. And I want to put this tip out there for folks: know your numbers. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to be able to prepare and report an entire corporate tax return, but you need to have a general understanding of every dollar that comes into your business. How much are your expenses? Say 25 cents. What are you paying yourself? Say another 30 cents. What are you doing for retained earnings? What are you doing for payroll, if you have to make payroll, that kind of stuff. You don't have to have a sophisticated, complex understanding of cost of goods sold and operating profit and all these accounting and financial
spreadsheets.
Terms. But you gotta have a basic ability, one way or another, to say, okay, I brought in $500 last week. I better save $250 to pay my employees, pay myself $100, and then save some for an upcoming project. That kind of stuff. Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't do that, or they do it and they're not honest with themselves about it, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Can you comment on the role that's played in your business?
Well, absolutely. Being a new business owner, I mean, I've had plenty of bumps and stumbles and kind of figuring it out as I go along. But that's another benefit of B&I is, being able to talk to people like yourself and other members and friends on the best ways to avoid some of that stuff. I'm much better now than I was year 1, year 2, year 3. I still got plenty of progress to make. Absolutely. But that's that benefit right there of navigating that stuff and just getting better at that stuff with creating new habits is a big benefit of B&I too. Because like I said, I've reached out to you and to a couple people like, hey, what's the best way to when do you do your end of the week stuff, and things like that, and just staying organized. So, and
know yourself, right? Know what you're most likely to do and most likely not to do.
Right.
Know yourself in terms of what you're most likely to procrastinate on versus,
Yeah.
And if you don't know yourself and you don't do a deep dive into self-examination, understanding how you work and what makes you tick, what motivates you, what doesn't, then you can't put a plan together to try to make changes to improve those types of things, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I've personally seen you make a lot of those changes. I wanted to mention something too. made a note here and I got distracted. I think branding is very important. And the reason I bring that up is because I've loved your branding from day one.
Even when it was small stuff?
Even when it was small stuff, I'm kind of reluctant to embrace change. And I was like, why is he changing it from small stuff to small job? It makes perfect sense now. You know what I'm saying? It's a great name. Give them your slogan.
Well, handy as a pocket is our slogan.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And I didn't make that up. My mother, who, kind of was the genesis for the idea, would say that to me.
Yeah.
And my understanding is that her mother would say, you're handy as a pocket knife.
Okay.
But my grandmother was born in like 1900.
Okay.
So she's been gone since like 94. But I asked my mom, where did you get that from?
Yeah.
And she said, well, your grandmother would say you're handy as a pocket knife. And she said, I guess I just shortened it. So
okay.
This is something that she would say to me when I would come over and pick up limbs or whatever I was doing. And she would say, well, you're as handy. And she just said it to all my siblings. I'm the youngest of 5. So
yeah.
You're as handy as a pocket was from her.
And you could pay tribute to her and your grandmother by making that your slogan.
So from day one, and that's why I have a pocket on my logo, because of the tagline,
yeah.
Our catchphrase, if you will, is handy as a pocket. Sometimes people think that I'm a handyman, so I love the slogan. Sometimes people think, oh, well, you're a handyman because you've got handy in the name.
Right.
So that is the only kind of downside, but everybody else loves it.
I want to tell you a personal story. I didn't know the genesis of that. Maybe you told me that. If you did, I forgot.
Yeah.
Our name for our IT company is Reliable Tech Help.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people are like, why'd you spell it T-E-K? Well, when I was in high school, there was a guy in J-Town where I grew up, and he had a little arcade that he made that he started his own. He was an engineer at GE, and nights and weekends he built this arcade up, and it was called Tech World, and it was spelled T-E-K. And I spent a lot of time there. I got to know him. His name was Percy. He was a great guy. Video games and technology and computers and all that kind of stuff are a big theme for me in my life and growing up. And so that
was like your haven.
One of them at least, right? Yeah. I mean, I spent a lot of time, a lot of money too. I'm sure Percy's very happy about that. But you won't go into how many quarters I pumped into video games. But anyways, so it's we have that in common. We're kind of paying homage or tribute to something that influenced us.
So that kind of stuck out in your mind, and you thought.
That's one of the reasons I wanted to do it.
Oh, very cool.
I knew I wanted the word reliable to be in my name because I would hope that people who know me would say that I'm reliable.
Yeah.
I wanted to communicate that because a lot of people out there just kind of mailing it in. They'll have a plumbing business or whatever, and they do okay work, and they show up, and they do decent, but they're not enthusiastic and charismatic and reliable, so I wanted that. And then the word help, obviously people need help, tech help, you hear that a lot. So I got off on a tangent there. I want to come back to the concept of branding. I love the fact that there's a pocket on there. Mm-hmm. You're handy as a pocket.
Well, and it's a to-do list. It's just peeking out, but it's a pin, and it's a little tough to see on this pattern, but it's basically a little spiral memo pad.
Yeah.
With a pen,
just poking out the top of the pocket.
So it's what it is a to-do list.
Yeah.
And so that's the whole. So when I was doing branding, I wanted to be specific, and like I said, we finally got there after small stuff, and became what we needed to be, which is small job, because I kept describing to people, I do small jobs.
Yeah.
So. But the pen and the memo, the spiral pad, is because it is for to-do list, because often I will come and do 3 or 4 things in an hour.
On someone's to-do list. I love it. It tells the story. It's clever. Did you come up with that, or did you collaborate with a graphic designer on that? Or
I had the idea for the pocket, like a denim, just a standard denim pocket with, and I, probably talked to you about it after, talking about starting this, is that, I want kind of maybe retro, but just, a simple pocket with a spiral notepad and a pen. And so we played with different things. A graphic designer friend of mine.
So you had the core down.
I had the core down. I just needed to tweak it. And, as far as the rest of my branding is, which is not much, it's my logo and handy as a pocket. But as far as like my trailer and stuff like that, I'm very, I like to tweak it and say, I want this. And I don't think I'm a total nightmare to work with, but I definitely know what I will like after seeing a couple of proofs.
Well, it's very effective. It's great.
Thank you.
It's great branding. I think it makes a really nice presentation when you pull up in someone's driveway too. You're driving a really nice Jeep with your company colors and your branding, your phone number, your logo, all that on there.
Yeah.
Your covered trailer is decked out with that too, right?
Yeah. My open trailer still needs a little more signage, but yeah, no, it gives people talking. It's kind of a good conversation starter when
mobile advertising.
When people see me in a parking lot or whatever, and they'll say, "What do you do?" or whatever. So yeah, I mean, it definitely has been helpful to not just have some little metal random stickers on my tailgate or on the side of my truck, beat up truck or whatever it is. I used to have a beat up truck. I don't have anything against beat up trucks, but I didn't have any branding on that one because it was a little too beat up.
Well, and that's where you started.
And it was my second vehicle.
And you grew your business up and you scaled it organically, what we talked about earlier, made your customers pay for a lot of that.
But it definitely is a good calling card, I think, to have a good presence on your vehicle. Yeah. So it's definitely helped.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but you did that in steps.
Totally.
As you were growing your business, you didn't commit to thousands of dollars of branding.
I had an old Ranger with about 230,000 miles that I put some stuff on the tailgate. It was a nice looking truck, but I mean, it was getting up there. And that's when I started in 2016. It was with that little silver Ranger that I had for the first couple of years.
Yeah, and that's another tip I want to give for those business owners out there thinking about starting a business or growing an existing business. If someone has a problem with you driving a beat up truck, that's their problem, right? Mm-hmm. And whatever car or resources you're using now, you're not set in stone to have those forever.
Right.
Start with what you have.
Yeah.
Is the concept.
I think the tendency, like you said, is for me was, I need to get business cards, I need to get legitimate, I need to get this, but
brand new truck.
Yeah, I would love a new box truck. I'm actually looking for a bigger trailer. I've got a 5x8, and so I do need one that I won't hit my head in because I've hit my head in this trailer so many times that I think I'm ready for one that I can stand up in, to expand, but also for my head.
Yeah.
But I would love a big box truck and everything else, but we're able to do a lot of good work and help a lot of people with what we have, and so we are pretty conservative with just making the most out of what we have and doing the best we can, and
with what you have.
Yeah, I'm not always in. Some days I go through 2 or 3 this time of year, 2 or 3 T-shirts. So I may grab just a plain black T-shirt. So I'm not always 100% wearing my stuff. But when I pull up to your house or your business, you're going to see my logo, and you're going to see me, and I may be wearing a cap that I'm a professional. And
no offense to Chuck in the truck because he's starting where he's at, but you have a very professional appearance. Your branding is prominent. That gives you credibility when you knock on somebody's door, especially for the first time, right?
I think it does. Yeah, most people are very receptive to my logo and assume that I'm going to be able to help them.
Yeah, you know what you're doing. You're going to do right by them, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk about cash flow and debt. Correct me if I'm wrong. Your business doesn't have any debt, and it never has, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
We, ran on a shoestring, and still, we've got a little breathing room, but we we keep our overhead low, and like I said, I don't have any debt. We have a couple different trailers that we use. I'm getting ready to expand. Probably get rid of the 5x8 and go into like a 6x12 that I can stand up in. Mm-hmm. Some jobs I rent a truck, so I didn't want to buy a box truck because I don't need a box truck on every job. And I've done small moves, and I've done whole house moves. I moved an acquaintance of mine's mother from Oldham County to J-Town, and we had a 26-foot truck and a 16-foot truck, and I had a crew of 6 of us. So that was the largest job we ever did. So I have held off buying like a 12 or 14-foot box truck because sometimes I need a 16-foot. Sometimes I need a 20-foot. So to your point, I don't want the stress and the overhead of, and I also don't want to drive a 16-foot box truck on a daily basis, or if I'm going to move a refrigerator or a laundry pair, I don't need a 12-foot or a 16-foot truck. So that's why we decided to go the trailer route, because I like driving a personal vehicle that has my business logo, but the trailers give me flexibility, and then I can also rent. I've got a partner that I rent box trucks from here in town. Penske Trucks over at Scott over at Fragile Pack has always taken care of me for the last few years, because in the warmer months, especially year round, but I'll do a lot of 16-foot trucks and 20-foot trucks on moves. So that has really helped give me flexibility to where I don't have a 14-foot box truck sitting, and yes, I could wrap it for an expense and go park it somewhere and get visibility that way and use it for advertising. But I just really like to keep my expenses low.
Yeah, that's a good lesson for people. Try to avoid debt like the plague. If you have to go into debt for something, you can't afford it by definition, right?
Yeah.
And then dragging payments behind you. A lot of people start a business. They go buy a $40,000 brand new truck, and they're paying $600 or $700 a month. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest killers of a young business that's fragile and new is cash flow. And if you got 30, 40, 50% of your cash flow going out in payments to some bank for something you didn't have to do your job, that can be a backbreaker. You mentioned renting. I want to touch on that. There's no shame in renting. You've rented tools and stuff for jobs, right?
On occasion, yeah. Like I said, I get asked to do so many different things that we've rented augers. We did a fence removal for a new customer, and they had a 4-foot fence. And so I called my friend who builds fences, Brent, Louisville Fences and Decks, and I said, man, what is the best way? I was getting ready to bid the job. I thought I could do it. I wanted to do it. And I said, what's the best way to get these 24 fence posts out? Because I hadn't done it before, really, to that degree. Mm-hmm. And it was a new customer and nice neighborhood. And so he said, do that. And so we rented the auger, and our crew went out and zip, and pulled all that out. The nice thing about that job was repurposing. So lumber prices are high.
Oh, yeah.
So I started looking, and I've moved some things on Facebook Marketplace, because I often will, people will have me throw stuff away, like a working TV or whatever, working fridges, whatever. So I try to keep stuff out of landfill. And so I have, given things away free on Marketplace. I've sold things on Marketplace. But I listed this fence after I got the job, and I was scheduled to go out there and take this. It was a shadow box too, which are expensive to build, but it was needed a little cleaning, but it was solid. And so I put it on Facebook Marketplace, and a lady and her sister and her son came out a couple Fridays ago and hauled away panels. We cut the panels off the posts and hauled away about 2,000 pounds of fence. And they are repurposing it, and it kept it out of the landfill. It kept my expenses down because I didn't have to have a dumpster, which of course was great. But it was really nice that it worked out that way. So that was a first.
Yeah. And so you mentioned that. I think people would be surprised what it actually costs to rent stuff. It's usually very reasonable, right? It's not as much as you would think.
Oh, yeah. The auger was $65 or something
for the
like
whole
that.
day?
So
and you did hundreds of dollars
it's about
worth of
5
work
hours. Yeah, okay. It was about 5 hours. So, yeah, Home Depot tool rental I've used a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned selling things on Facebook Marketplace. I can't tell you how many laptop parts, laptops, computers, throwaway stuff that customers ask me to throw away or recycle, and I put it on eBay and made some money on it. And that's another tip I want to give to business owners is you have to be resourceful, right? There's a lot of ways turning otherwise trash into something, even if it's like you got $50
somebody's trash is somebody else's treasure. I mean, I gave away a TV last week, an older flat panel Sharp Aquos TV that worked fine, but it was 4 inches thick.
Yeah.
But I will try, and I've had called customers and said, hey, I got a customer giving away something, some yard art, an antique yard thing. And so I called one of my other customers and I said, hey, and I can't spend all day on this stuff, but I will try and be creative and get stuff, keep it out of the landfill, keep it used. I've taken stuff to, consignment stores, things like that. And, old records, I sold some old records, and, I just hated throwing them away.
Yeah, same here. It's not sitting in landfill. Someone's enjoying it.
Yeah.
And you might even be able to make a few bucks on it or save yourself the cost of hauling it away, which
Yeah.
makes your profit margin on your job higher.
Yeah.
So everybody benefits.
Metal scrap. I
Yeah.
will do haulaways for a lot of realtors, and oh man, there's still crap in the basement in the mechanical room. Can you go over there? We've got a closing tomorrow, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So I will list either I'll take it myself, or I've listed metal scrap just because I don't want it in the dumpster, in the landfill.
Yeah.
So throughout running this business, I am trying to have an impact on, not just throwing everything away.
Yeah.
Even though it's probably quicker, and I can't always do it, but I will make an effort to try to do that. And it feels good.
The planet is rare. It might be the only one we have that can support life.
Yeah.
And there's only so many resources, and why not try to make a difference when you can?
Yeah. Taking stuff down to the scrapyard. Often I get less than $20, but it buys my lunch, and it takes me an extra 30 minutes, or maybe I take it to the landfill down in the city, and I don't get paid for it. But just walking it over to the metal dumpster, little things can add up.
And you might leave a cleaner planet for your son and his children if he has some, that kind of thing.
That's true.
Yeah, well, I'd like to wrap up this part of the show by thanking you for being here. Again, this is Jason Cross with Small Job Service. Tell them how they can interact with you. What's your website? What's your phone number? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Well, my phone number is 502-309-6074. I wish it had some sort of catchy, handy pocket acronym with the numbers, but that's my number. Facebook is really good. We're hoping to do some Instagram pretty soon, but Small Job Service on Facebook. You'll see pretty much weekly posts of some of the variety of jobs that we do. My email is callsmalljob@gmail.com.
And they can also go to, is it smalljobservice.com, and they'll take them right to the Facebook business page?
Yeah. I haven't checked it in a while, but smalljobservice.com.
Give them the phone number and the email address one more time.
502-309-6074. Call smalljob at gmail.com.
Perfect. Well, thanks for being here. The next segment is called 3 Questions, and it's brought to you by our nonprofit, See Good to Be Good, which aims to act as a source of hope, motivation, and inspiration to help folks achieve their dreams. We're currently accepting donations to help fund our needs-based scholarship to help a young person pay for their education. So if you want to get involved with that, or you want to contribute, reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you about that. I feel an obligation because of all the people that have helped me and how good this community has been to me to help other people. So that's kind of the
well, shout out to you, and I'll cut you off there. Shout out to you. Be good to
see good to be good.
See good to be good. Well, it's easy to be cynical, and it is for me. I'll speak for myself. But there is so much good being done by local business owners, people, customers, and it can get stressful as a business owner. But I appreciate that because there is a lot of good. Mm-hmm. And as for myself, I have to remind myself and focus on that and just keep that attitude because, some days are tougher than others.
Yeah.
But I love that. See good to be good.
Yeah, the idea was people have to see good being done to be good or do good. So it just kind of occurred to me.
Well, I like that. And when I see good, I think that just snowballs and creates even more change for good. So
yeah, when I do something nice for someone, I tell them 2 things. The first one is I do it for selfish reasons because helping people makes me happy. It's kind of a joke, but the second thing I say is I'm not doing it for free. You know what the cost is? You got to go help somebody else.
Right.
I help you, you help somebody else, we're even.
Right.
So
I like that.
Thank you. That being said, let's go. So question number 1, why are you successful?
Why am I successful? Well, I would say that I deliver on what we show up to do in a timely, we do what people hire us to do. And, we're respectful and show up 95% of the time. And, it's tough because some of these jobs, if I've got 3 and 4 in a day, they run long.
But you're going to call your client and tell them if you're running late or you need to reschedule.
I mean, I do my very best to do that.
Yeah.
And respect people's time.
So integrity.
Yeah.
Question number 2, why are you happy?
Why am I happy? Well, having a purpose, I think, is a big part of it. I'm a father. I've got a 15-year-old son who's a freshman in high school. So that has been pretty amazing since he's been around. I was a father a little later. I was 37. So I always wanted kids, and I have one. So that is a big part of having a purpose.
Yeah.
And I think being enjoying life with him and getting to know him and being an example for him is big. And, I enjoy a pretty well-rounded life. Yeah. Why am I happy? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Yeah. What makes me happy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How'd you get there? What is happiness to you?
Well, finding things that I enjoy and continuing to do those.
Yeah.
You
We have some things in common. You said you were late to the Sun game. I got you beat. I was 40 when I had my one and only child, my son. Mm-hmm. Having my son is the greatest experience of my life. The greatest honor and joy of my life is being his dad and being in his life every day. I can't imagine my life without it. So we have that in common. There was something else we had in common too. I was thinking about.
We both have cool moms.
We both have cool
moms. Your mom called me yesterday.
Oh, good.
To do more stuff. Yeah.
Good. Shout out to the moms out there. Happy belated Mother's Day to those moms. So question number 3, what obligation do you feel to help other people?
Good question. Well, you spoke on it at the beginning of the segment. And I'm going to screw it up because I have some dyslexia. See good to be good.
Yeah.
Well, I do some volunteer work. I'm a regular platelet donor, so I'm I always get a lot of calls from the Red Cross to come and donate platelets. I started doing that 16, 17 years ago, so I do that regularly. I also have volunteered with my son down at Ronald McDonald House in Kentuckiana. That's down, what is it, 1st or 2nd Street. So I'm friendly with their development director in my group, and so we have gone down as a group, as a chapter, and also I've gone down individually. And so I try and do that stuff because it keeps me, it feeds me.
Yeah.
It's often a bigger paycheck than what I do for my day job. So I have a few places that I like to volunteer.
Great.
And
it helps you honor the memory and the kindness that other people have extended to you.
Yeah, and my dad did some kind of service work, but my mom raised 6 kids, and so every Wednesday for 25 years, she would go down and push the reading cart at Cosair Children's downtown. Oh, Wednesdays from like noon to 2, like my whole childhood. So I got that from her. So she would, the kids that can't come to the library, there was a cart called, it was the Book and Look Room.
Yeah.
So whenever I do most of the time when I do that, I think of her, and I got that from her. So that feels really good to me to volunteer because I feel legacy. A connection, I got that primarily from my mom.
That's nice. Yeah. The thing I slipped my mind a minute ago was you and I also have sobriety in common. We don't drink, we don't smoke, we don't, do any pills or anything. We both have been that way for a long time, and I think that's a contributing factor to our success, our happiness, having a clear mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah, being sober. So I wanted to mention that.
It was a game changer for me. I haven't done it in a long time. I am not particularly a really smart person, but I just fortunately very early realized that I was out of control from like 15 to 18. And so I just went to rehab, and actually the light switch came on that, if I want to live, I need to, and not just, suffer and survive. I really need to stop doing what I was doing.
Yeah.
So that is a big part of my lifestyle.
Yeah.
So I just was lucky enough to go to the Derby, and they gave us a wristband for all the food and drinks that you could have, and I
not applicable.
Yeah, no, I mean they didn't really lose money on me on the booze because I didn't drink any.
Doing your part.
But that's a big part.
I didn't have a problem. I just decided I want to do it anymore, and my life's been better for it. Well, that's a good way to wrap up that segment of our show. I'd like to give a inspirational quote before we finish up here. One of my favorite people of all time is Albert Einstein. And he said, "I have no special talent. I am only passionately curious."
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think besides being kind and compassionate, which are more important, but right below that on my tombstone, whatever that looks like, I'd like it to say he was curious and persistent. So I don't think I have any special talent myself. I just don't give up, and I pursue the things I'm curious about. If you would like to be a guest on our show, or you would like help creating and or distributing your own podcast content, please contact us for more information. I'd also like to take a moment to thank the talented people that work behind the scenes to make this podcast happen. There's the effervescent producer David Snyder running audio and video.
Golf clap.
The intrepid David Snyder casting and scripting the show. And finally, the brilliant and gifted David Snyder editing and distributing the show online. So a big thanks to those fine people.
That's a trifecta team right there.
Thank you to our guest, Jason Cross with Small Job Service. His information, how you can connect with him and interact with him, will be in the show notes on any of the 9 platforms that we're on. Thanks for joining us today, and thank you to our listeners and our sponsors for helping make this podcast possible and hopefully successful. And we'll see you real soon on a future episode of the Respect the Math podcast.